And we're on! Hello all and welcome, and I am the Realist Philosopher, and this is the Realist Philosopher live call-in show. So how y'all doing today? Hope you're all doing good, fine, and well. If you're having picture problems, please let me know by sending me a Skype. My Skype name is the Realist Philosopher. I'm going to open up the phone lines in a second. Just want to say hello and how y'all doing? I'm doing pretty good. I feel a lot better. Been sick for the past couple weeks. For those of you who know my content, I'm almost dried up. The phlegm is almost gone, so that's good. Very unpleasant subject, so let's move along, shall we? So I first wanted to start off on a lighter note and talk about a video I placed on my main channel about a headbanging dog. Now, some of you might be asking, well, Realist Philosopher, what are you doing posting a video of yourself headbanging with a friggin' bulldog to heavy metal music? What are you doing making a fool of yourself? People should be taking you seriously as a philosopher. Really? Really? Where'd you get that idea? Yeah, you should take me serious when I'm talking about serious stuff, but when I'm being silly and just enjoying the moment, and seriousness is not required for the subject matter at hand, why can't I be silly and just headbang with a friggin' dog who knows how to live, baby? So the reason I made that video, aside from wanting to show a little bit more of my lighter and silly side, and that I like videos like that to begin with, it was to make a point. It was to make a point. That dog, I wanted to make a point, and I hope people got this, and I should have said this in the video. You know, sometimes you're making a video in the moment. You don't say everything you'd like to say or do as well as you could in expressing yourself. But what I wanted to express as clearly as possible is that dog, he got it. He's got it. You want to understand a large part of what it means to be happy? Look at that dog. Was he worrying what people thought? Nah, he's a dog. He's banging other dogs in front of 100 people. He don't care. Not that you should do that, by the way. I'm not talking about having no shame, of course, or being a degenerate. No. The dog understood how to be in the moment. I mean, he started hearing that music, and he's like, and he just immediately plopped down, and he starts headbanging, and he's in the moment, baby. He's in the moment. He's 100% devoted to that place in time. He's not anywhere else. He's not thinking about his hungry chow or whatever fucking name that the dog food that he eats has. He wasn't thinking about his next drink, his next shit, his next piss. You know, the next little filly down the block he was going to bang in front of 100 people. Nah! He was just in that moment, baby, banging his fucking head, and he was 100% devoted to that fucking head banging, and he was having a ball. Even though his buddy sitting next to him was like, you're a fucking crazy motherfucker. I'm getting out of here. He's afraid of what everybody else thought. He's afraid of what he thinks. He's not in the moment. He's just like, I got to get the hell out of here. This is scaring the shit out of me. I think my friend is possessed. So the dog got it. He understood what it meant to be in the moment and be devoted to that moment 100%. And that was kind of the message I wanted to put across. You know, if this dog can get it, if he's got it, if he understands it, then you can do it too. Okay, that's enough about the fucking dog. You can go watch the video and see for yourself, and maybe the message will become clearer to you. So, okay, moving on. I saw Captain Marvel. Oh, God. I'm very much convinced that a lot of the money that this movie's made, by the way, has been spent by Disney trying to promote this movie, and I wouldn't be surprised if they'd spent hundreds of millions of dollars already trying to make people think that this movie was doing well. It sucked. It was crap. Every single motherfucking opportunity they could take to wedge in some kind of bullshit about female empowerment and not caring what men think and we can do what a man can do, and playing that fucking girl power music because she has that horrible fight scene with what's supposed to be Kree. I thought Kree were blue skin, by the way. I thought Kree were like that Ronan the Accuser in the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. But no, apparently the Kree is some kind of alliance of many different worlds that I guess were conquered or chose to join something called the Kree Alliance. So there's lots of different races in that are called Kree, which she wasn't. She was human or some shit. Didn't make any sense to me. The whole thing didn't make any sense. So the movie starts out, she's on a fucking go-kart, zooming around a track, and then some boy tells her you can't go that fast, you shouldn't go that fast, and of course she crashes because, you know, when did a woman ever listen to a man, right? And then the father is telling her, you can't do that! You know, it's like, you're a girl! Girls can't do that! I've never heard anybody say that, right? They're all too afraid of the feminist anvil, the feminist fucking hammer coming down on their head. Well, feminist hammer or a fucking bike lock, whichever tool fits the day. But, yeah, I was like, I've never heard anybody tell a woman that she can't do that. Well, when does that ever happen? When does that ever freaking happen? I'm opening up the phone lines right now. For those of you who I haven't talked to about this before, you can call in and let me know what you thought about the Captain Marvel movie. Was it as bad as I'm saying, or did you love it? So to call in, you can dial 623-242-2517. You have to dial a 1 first. Now, if you're in the continental United States, this is a U.S. number. So if you have a cell phone and a cell phone plan, then you probably have unlimited minutes within the continental United States, or at least you have a lot, like 1,000 minutes or some shit within the continental United States. And I very much doubt you're talking 1,000 minutes a month. So use some of those minutes to call into me. This is a U.S. number, 1-623-242-2517. Or you can Skype me. I believe there's a Skype that you can download for your mobile device. Doesn't run in the background, so it won't slow your phone down. And my Skype is the Realist Philosopher. No spaces. So call in. Let me know what you thought of the movie. Oh, it's horrible. Oh, it was torture just sitting through it. The character of Brie Larson was just this wooden character, no emotion, just boring, no character, no personality. It's like when these feminists, they're trying to prove how tough they are. They try to present themselves as some gross caricature of what they think a man is. And it's obvious they have no idea what a man is, what a man would look like, how a man would act, tough or otherwise. They just have in their mind, how can I be as stalwart, as possible, and tough? Well, I'll just be stoic the whole movie and put this, resting bitch face on my face the whole movie. And yeah, it's crap. It's total crap. So it goes from there, and then she's on some spaceship getting ready for some mission. Apparently, she has amnesia. We've never seen that trope before, right? The hero with the amnesia! Yeah, that's getting old. And she's fighting some Skrulls or something, some weird-looking alien race that can morph and change shape to look like anyone and anything, and the DNA would match even though they don't have to touch another being. How the fuck does that work? Maybe they have technology that's able to scan the being from far away, and then I don't know. It's ridiculous, honestly. The science. And of course, I can suspend reality to a certain point in regards to the science. I mean, hey, I've watched Star Trek, right? Teleporters and fucking replicators, all impossible. Yeah. So the movie just continues with a lot of bad fight scenes, some bonding moments between her and her so-called Kree mentor. She cheats and shoots that energy blast at him, even though that wasn't the arranged combat, protocol. She's a cunt, basically. She's, typical emotional woman, out of control, no self-discipline. Then, I don't know, I forget the train of the movie. I was fading in and out. It was so boring. I can't even remember all the events that happened. Eventually, they end up on Earth or something, following these fucking Skrulls or something. And for some reason, there was a Kree on Earth years before when this Carol Danvers, which is her human name, was working on a project with one of the Kree who was pretending to be human or looked human so she could pass herself off as human, and was a scientist developing some faster-than-light engine on Earth. I thought they had that already. I guess they have something more like hyperspace, like in Star Wars, though. But anyway, and she got killed by Kree, shot down, And then that's how Carol Danvers lost her memory, and then they took her with them, and they indoctrinated her to believe she was a Kree, and then she fought Skrulls with them for 7 years or some shit. It's a whole empire, but they need this one random broad, right? It don't make no sense. And then fast forward, she's back on Earth. Memories start coming back, and she's seen the face of this scientist woman who was Kree, who was on Earth, and I know her, I knew her, she was in my dreams, and long story short, eventually her memory comes back, she starts beating up Kree. Ronan the Accuser from Guardians of the Galaxy comes to Earth because, this is the 1990s, and at this point he's still alive. This is well before the events of Guardians of the Galaxy, and she's blowing up massive fucking starships just by flying through them and using her pew-pew beams from her fucking hands. Yeah, this movie sucked. It was horrific. Oh my God, some of the scenes were so cringy. She had this one black friend, and maybe it was one of the aliens. No, maybe it was Nick Fury who called her a little lady or something. And the woman was like, "You call me little lady again, I'm going to put my foot up your ass," or some shit like that. Or was it was young lady? I think he just called her young lady. I wasn't aware young lady was somehow a pejorative. But of course, if you're a feminist, being referred to in any way, shape, or form as young, which I guess implies inexperienced, and lady, which, if you're a feminist, I don't want to be a lady. Ladies were oppressed. Yeah, right. So, she objected to being called a young lady. It was like every opportunity that could be found to introduce some kind of rage response to how men would mansplain or talk to a woman, even if it wasn't warranted, was just, shoehorned in there. Just any opportunity to put female empowerment, some feminist tropes in there. The producers and Brie Larson were game. And by the way, I don't believe these figures for this movie. Ooh, it's made X amount of dollars worldwide. Bullshit. Bullshit. Disney's buying tickets, okay? Disney's buying fucking tickets to this piece of crap to inflate the numbers, all right? That's all. They want to convince people that this character's great. People love this character, so then more people will go to see that next Avengers movie. That's all it is. Essentially, this movie was a piece of garbage. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it maybe a 2 or 3 at best. That's being generous. I think it was a total piece of crap. Anybody saying it was good is just indoctrinated, male feminist or something. I don't know. I was just, wow, this is a really, really bad movie. And the cat? Yeah, a cat. Fury's eye got scratched out by a cat. And they tried to make Fury look like a fool by essentially saying that he had spread the belief that he got his eye gouged out by a knife while being tortured by a Kree or something, that he lied because the truth was too embarrassing. And meanwhile, he kept the cat as a pet, this weird creature with tentacles that could fly 20 feet and pick people up and slam them around. It didn't make any sense. Did anybody see that? Whereby this animal that he's holding in his hands is picking up, 200-pound men, multiples, and tossing them around. First of all, that defies all physics. Where's the foundation for this creature to attach itself, to be able to exercise that kind of strength? I mean, you just got Fury holding it. If he's holding it, and then it's holding 800 pounds, now Fury is holding 800 or 1,000 pounds. It didn't make any sense. The whole movie was just crap. Maybe people with high IQs shouldn't go see it. They'll knock it down a few pegs. Maybe somebody that's average IQ would think it was a 4 or 5 or some shit. I give it a 2. I give it a 2 at best. So now, if you didn't already know not to see that piece of shit, now you know. Now you know. I watched it simply because I wanted to make fun of it here, but it was so painful. Oh man, so cringy. I think my brain just opted to erase a lot of the shit because the whole train of events I'm not remembering too good. Bad fucking movie. All right. Let's move on. I don't even want to discuss this any more than I have to. It was bad. Anyway, if you'd like to call in and give me your view on the movie, I think some of you might already have. Feel free to call in. The number is 623-242-2517. That's 623-242-2517. It's a U.S. number. or Skype me at The Realist Philosopher. Now, next one I wanted to talk about was a question somebody asked me on Facebook. For those of you who follow me, you know I have, and you can see all the links at the bottom of the screen there. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, Instagram. Oh, I'm all over the place. Like the dog. And I was on Facebook and I saw this comment, and I thought it would be interesting to talk about. Number one, because I think that the guy who sent me the message might be listening. I gave him the link. He said he would, and also seemed a little shy, seemed a little hesitant to call in. You really ought to call in, by the way, if you're listening. But then again, maybe it's just a bad time. I think he might be a student or something, or maybe he's freshly out of school. I don't know. But anyway, his question was a very interesting one, and I thought I would address it here. Excuse me. So, his question was, what should he do for his future? He's like some 18-year-old kid, and he asked, what should I do? Should I go to university? Should I become a cop? These are some wild, random choices in my mind. I mean, maybe what he would want to go to university to study is somehow more in line with what police would do, criminal sciences and such. I don't know. He didn't go into any detail about that. Or go to trade school. So that has nothing to do with being a cop. And being a cop, in my mind, doesn't have anything to do with university unless you want to, like, have a faster track, I guess, to higher level promotions in the police department, which, by the way, I'm not even sure that you need a university education to be like a detective or an officer in the police department. Maybe you do. I don't know. Maybe it's become like the military now where you have to get a university degree to be an officer, but I'm not sure. But he didn't go into detail about if he did go to college, what he would study, nor did he go into detail about trades. So, I mean, it would be great if he would call in. Then I could ask him some more pointed questions and give him very specific advice addressed to him. But I'm going to go into a very general analysis, and this won't take too long, of university versus trade school, because I think that would be helpful to a lot of young people listening, and it certainly is something they need to think about. So, first of all, university. University used to be worth something when 10% of the population went. Before the government started subsidizing it and paying for it and guaranteeing loans and just handing you money hand over fist, so much so that the university knows they're guaranteed to get whatever the hell they ask for, which I don't understand why the government would be handing out money hand over fist like that. But so, they're building fucking, water parks. I've seen some of these fucking universities with water parks and water slides and shit inside the main lobby. It's crazy. But they can afford all that because it's on the government dime, right? So, yeah, generally speaking, university used to be worth something because, simple scarcity, right? So the more scarce something is in regards to the demand, if there's a lot of demand, it's scarce, well, then, yeah, it has a lot of value. But nowadays, everybody and their mother is going to college. Everybody and their fucking mother is going to university, so it's not worth very much. Not to mention the fact that a lot of these people going to university are going to university to study things that you don't need to go to university to study. That's what the majority of them are doing. The amount of people that are actually going to university to study useful things, it's still like around 10%. Engineering, STEM fields, medicine, the law. That's all still about the same, right? But the amount of people that are going to university for useless shit, well, it's just fucking skyrocketed. So my advice in regards to university, again, I'm going to keep this short and sweet because I don't want to go into a lot of detail, and I don't think I need to, especially since a lot of you out there listening are already red-pilled and understand what's wrong with university today. Don't go to university unless you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, a scientist, an engineer, something like that. If you want to be a fucking biologist, you got to go to university and expose yourself to that social justice warrior, Marxist, Leninist fucking atmosphere where all the fucking teachers are commies. They love communism. Bunch of pinko scumbags. If that's what you must expose yourself to, at the very least, at the very least, do some research and find universities that have a higher ratio of conservative to liberal professors. Some universities are, a little higher in the number of conservatives that teach there, and some universities are actually conservative by nature, though there's not many. Not too many! But you should do your research, okay? So that you don't have to listen to too much of this garbage, all right? So, university is a bad option if you want to make a lot of money, unless you're going to be something like, again, doctor, lawyer, scientist, engineer. Those can usually make pretty good money, or it's what you want to do. That's the route. Otherwise, what the fuck you going for? To study TV? I've seen some courses like The Simpsons. Like some course that was about the breakdown of the cultural significance of The Simpsons in 20th century television. Course cost $5,000. Now, if I was a parent, and I was looking at the courses my fucking kid chose, and that was on the list, and I saw that big fucking $5,000 number, I'd be like, this is what I'm paying for? You need to go to the fucking government, okay? I'm not paying for this, so go get more money from the fucking government, because I'm not paying $5,000 for you to watch The Simpsons, okay? And learn about The Simpsons. Obviously useless. No practical purposes, no practical use whatsoever. A lot of these useless courses just exist to give a bunch of, stoner hippies from the 60s jobs in the here and now. Because they didn't learn anything useful either. They learned activism. I marched with the Black Panthers at Berkeley. Yeah, okay. What can you do with that? Get a job teaching race studies. Ooh, yeah. What are you going to do with that? Oh, get a job in academia. Teaching what? Teaching somebody else to be a useless academic? I mean, come on. Get a brain. Get a brain. Don't go to university unless it's to study something that you can use, that has practical, fundamental applications in modern society. That way you're almost guaranteed to get a good job. Or at least a job that doesn't have you fucking washing dishes or waiting tables like a lot of these people who came out of university with their useless degrees are going to end up doing. But, they don't want to end up doing that because it's beneath me. I have a degree. I like Bernie. He wants to pay off all my student loan debt that I incurred by making the bad choice to study race and gender. But it's not my fault. The system's just corrupt because they don't see the value of what I've learned, and it has high value. It's also corrupt because people don't want to recognize my brilliance and the value of what I've learned. Yeah, that's it, right? Yeah. So I need socialism. I need Bernie. Yeah, you need Bernie, all right. No, you don't. You need a brain transplant. That's what you need, you dumb fuck. It's too late now, though. Yeah. And if they could steal IQ points, they would. But they can't do that, so they just want to steal the money of people who have more IQ points and who have worked more diligently to become successful or just made better choices. Believe me, if IQ points could be stolen, these socialist scumbags would steal those as well. Trust me. But then again, maybe not, because they're all a bunch of lazy, entitled cunts. They don't want to work, so even if they had the intelligence to be more productive and do something of worth, they just wouldn't feel like it, because I'm too good to get calluses on my hands, so, Who's this? Oh, we have Sith and Sith calling in. I guess I said something that, he wants to comment on. Hello, caller.
Hello, sir. This is Sif.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm fine. How you doing?
I'm fine. For the past days, I've been listening to Democrat propaganda coming from.
Let me guess. Yang.
Andrew Yang, yeah.
Woo, that fucking guy. I was going to talk about him after I got done talking about my advice about university versus trade school. But go ahead.
So his idea is in order to implement the UBI, he wants to tax consumption with DAT in fucking America.
Yeah, I already did some research into this. This guy's a moron. Yeah. So the value-added tax would essentially be he's talking about. I believe it's adding a cost onto the value and making the company pay for it, or essentially the person manufacturing the good would be on the bill on the hook for 10% of whatever they were going to charge the public.
I think it's he wants to do like they do here in Europe. The value-added tax is a tax that you pay on consumption. It's about between 20% of what you pay and 25%.
I'm not so sure. He said that it wouldn't cost the taxpayer. That his words, if I recall, were it wasn't a tax for the consumer, but for the producer. But regardless, it doesn't matter. My understanding was that he wanted to add. No, that's called a sales tax, okay? that's just called a sales tax. That's what we call it, a sales tax. I mean, if that's what he's trying to do, then this change of language with value-added tax, it's just a sales tax. But my understanding was that he wanted to make the producer pay and add pay 10% and not the consumer. But either way, it's going to cost the consumer, because even if the consumer is even if he's charging the producer of the product 10% of the value of the product, the producer of the product would just up the price and pass on that increase in costs to the consumer. So it wouldn't matter. Even if he taxed the person producing it, they would just increase the price to compensate for the 10% lost. So either way, I mean, it doesn't matter. It's still a tax to the consumer, whether or not he has the initial person paying it be the producer of the good. It's a horrible idea. It's a horrible idea. It's a sales tax, right? I mean, it's just a fucking sales tax, fancily called a value-added tax. It's stupid. Oh, value-added, right? Because it's based on the value of the product, right? Because I mean, it's still a tax. It's still a tax. It's just, he's just fucking changing the language. It's a bad idea. He's come up with this number of like $1.8 trillion. Oh, it'll only cost $1.8 trillion to give this to everyone in America. Really? But isn't our budget right now like around $3 trillion? So you're talking about like increasing by like 60%, almost 2/3 increasing our overall budget just to give UBI. So we're already in debt. We're already spending more every year. The government's already spending more than they take in tax revenue, and yet he wants to increase that by 2/3. This guy's an idiot. He's like, oh, well, the value-added tax will bring in 800, billion? Another 800 billion. Yeah, but that's not even half. All right, let's say we agree with you on your numbers, that it would actually bring that much in, which I don't agree with at all, because if you added a value-added tax, this is what this dummy doesn't understand. Of course, he's pandering to a bunch of low IQ morons who just want free shit. So he says free shit, and they're like, ooh, let's vote for him. They don't think about it because they don't have the education or the brain power. If you increase the cost to everything that is purchasable, and I don't even know if this applies to services. I mean, does it just apply to goods, or is this all types of purchases, both products and services? It's probably services as well, because it would literally have to apply to everything to pay for this. So, but let's just say it only applies to goods. All right, let's be generous, because I don't know all the details, and say it only applies to goods and not services. Everybody with a brain knows that if you increase the cost of things, people buy less. People buy, just like if you raise people's taxes, they move. If you raise them too much to a state that, has lower taxes, or if you try to increase their taxes federally, they just move their fucking business out of the country, because if they're real rich, they can do that, and then you get zero tax revenue. Well, it works the other way, too, in regards to the purchasing. If you put a tax on shit and say, okay, we're going to charge you 10% more for everything you buy. Well, aren't people just going to buy less? So that 800 million, how do you actually know? That's like being the most optimistic as humanly possible. Like, well, people's spending habits will not change. That's pretty fucking optimistic of you, Mr. Yang. Of course, their spending habits are going to change if you charge them 10% more. Guess how much their overall spending is probably going to drop. I bet you can guess, can't you, Seth? How much is their... Right! Because people aren't making more money. So they're going to drop the amount that they spend by 10%, so it's going to make zero. What is this guy thinking? You're going to bring in no new revenue because the majority of people who are going to be hit by this tax are, guess who? Regular people, middle class, and poor people, because they're the majority of the population. Yeah, now true. It'll even affect rich people. It'll even affect rich people, because no matter how rich you are, you wanted to buy that $100 million yacht, and now it costs $110 million. It's like, maybe I'll keep using the old yacht. Maybe I'll just refurbish the old yacht, right? I mean, yeah, rich people have money, but they're not like Scrooge McFucking Duck with a big endless supply of gold in their basement that just seems to magically replenish itself whenever he buys a new mansion or some shit. No, they're actually usually pretty spendthrift. That's why they have money. They don't waste it. They're not stupid. If you add 10%, by the way, they might fucking buy the yacht in Italy, right? Oh, well, geez, there's a 10% value-added tax in America. Well, I'll go to a shipbuilder in Italy and buy it there and save 10%. Yeah, this is going to save a lot of money. They're going to find ways around this. Geez, I wanted to buy that $300,000 Lamborghini, but God damn it, that's expensive. You know what I think I'll do? I think I'll buy it from the manufacturer in Europe and then have them ship it over here in a special container. And it'll actually cost 10 grand less or something. So I'll save some money. They're not stupid, these people. They'll find ways around this. I just don't understand what this guy thinks he's going to raise money when... And now, granted, some rich people will have no choice because the things that they want to buy, the services that they want to... that they need done will be local. So they have to spend the money in America. But I think he's being very, very optimistic when he says that it'll bring in $800 million more dollars. He's ignoring how people react to higher taxes. He's just, I really don't understand why you would think that the regular person wouldn't spend less and save more, while at the same time the rich person wouldn't buy stuff somewhere else if they could. Other countries that don't have this kind of tax, or they would just say, yeah, I don't need another $80 million mansion. Right? I mean, I would
like to add something else. That he's Taiwanese, so he comes from the part of China that has been in war with mainland China. So he doesn't even remember that communism doesn't work.
Right, it doesn't.
They never learn.
No, communism don't work, but, you got all these smart people think they're smart, and they think, they found the way to make it work. Like, oh, I can implement these socialist ideas without going full-blown commie. Not that extent. Not to that extent, because you're talking about now a fucking free salary for everybody. I mean, do you know how much money you'd have to steal from people? You're literally talking, if it includes services and isn't just goods, and I don't see how we would be able to raise another $1.8 trillion unless it included all purchases, both service-based and good-based. You're talking about stealing 10% of everybody's wealth at the point of purchase. That's pretty communistic there, right? I mean, you are implementing economic socialism. That's communism. He's talking about implementing this communist program that is aimed at stealing massive amounts of wealth to give to everybody, because that's the only way that it could be implemented. It would have to be a right. So even Bill Gates would be getting this $1,000 a month. I talked about this in earlier videos I did on UBI. It's the worst idea you could possibly come up with, because what's the best way to de-incentivize, demotivate people from working? Right? On hold. Hello? You there, Seth? Hello? Okay, something's wrong. Sis disappeared. Wait a second, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe somebody else is calling in. I don't know, something happened. Let me see. Maybe somebody else called in. I have no idea. Okay. But yeah, it's the worst idea humanly possible, because, oh, maybe you got another call. Okay. Anyway, thank you, Sid, for bringing that up. Yeah, it's a horrible idea. You want to get people working, but you want to give them free money? Look at the homeless population in America, right? We've got millions and millions of people homeless in America, and many of them are homeless because, guess what? They don't want to work. These are people who would rather live in a tent, live on the street, take a dump in the street because they don't want to work. Then they're able to do that because you got a bunch of bleeding heart liberals who want to feel better. They want to feel like heroes. They want to feel like saviors. They have a savior complex. You got a bunch of bleeding heart liberals who are willing to give these people free food, who are willing to give these people somewhere to sleep and fill up the homeless shelters, and then they have to sleep on the street. But it's, warm enough weather, so that's why they're in California in the first place, because it's so temperate. But you have people who are literally willing, in the millions, in the most productive, successful country in the world, to sleep on the fucking sidewalk. They would rather do that to get a job because all of their basic needs are taken care of. I mean, they're pretty basic, right? They don't really have an actual home. But they're perfectly fine with getting free food. And a lot of these homeless are pretty fat, so they get a lot of free food. And sleeping in a tent or just, sleeping rough in the woods and starting campfires to start a lot of these wildfires in California that cost taxpayers tens of millions of dollars to fight because they're getting their basic needs met. And what do you think would happen if you actually started giving some people $12,000 a year, which in a lot of places would allow them to pay rent, buy food, and along with other welfare programs, which, guess what? Andrew Yang isn't talking about getting rid of all the other welfare programs on the books in favor of this UBI. Oh, no! You'd still be able to get food stamps and WIC and what are food stamps? They call them SNAP now or some shit. But that's all right, Sith. You don't need to call back in. I appreciate the conversation. You set me on a very good path that I wanted to go down anyway. So you gave me a good setup, so thank you for that. You really got my juices flowing on this subject. It really pisses me off. He sent me a text right now through Skype. But, yeah, I mean, so you've got the least motivated aspect of the least motivated sect of the human population right now, which numbers 2 to 3 million homeless people in America who are literally willing to sleep on the sidewalk because they've got their very, very most basic needs provided for. Well, how many other people do you think there are who, if you paid them $12,000 a year, would just stop working entirely? More millions? It would be millions. It would be millions. Damn it. I'm getting tired of my boss telling me when to drop the fries. Fuck McDonald's. I'm just going to take this UBI and I'm going to apply for other welfare and I'm just going to sit on my ass all day and watch Oprah. How many millions of people do you think would do that? And well, you might be doing a favor for the fast food industry by essentially motivating it to, automate more because they can't find people willing to work for them because these people can get more in benefits from the government. So they need to automate and get these touch screens and everything. You're not going to be producing any value. You're not going to be producing any more wealth. In fact, you're actually taking wealth out of the economy produced by productive endeavors and giving it to a bunch of people to sit on their asses and watch Oprah all fucking day. I don't know how people don't get this. Well, people have extra money. Let's take it and give it to some who have less. Oh, Lord save me. Yeah, they have extra money. Do you know what they do with that extra money? They save it for rainy days, for times when they may not have so much extra money to get them through. Or they invest it and start businesses. Or they put it in the bank. And then that money gets loaned out to people who want to start businesses. What this idiot's talking about is essentially a fucking sales tax, although technically maybe not, but in practice it might as well be. Applied across the entire nation. 10%. Okay, what's 10% of, this? Oh, well, I'm buying a Lamborghini for $100,000. Well, you're paying $10,000. On top of all the other taxes, by the way. You got local taxes too? This isn't going to get rid of the already existing sale taxes that are on the books at the state level. No. So what you're really doing is that you're taking money away from people. Not only that, but this is the brilliant part, which this dummy doesn't even get. You are slowing down production, right? You're incentivizing people to produce less because guess what? If you add this tax, people are buying less shit. You know what that means? Less will be produced because there's 10% less demand. You pinhead Yang! I would love to teach an economics course in university. I had this running on Facebook with this communist who came into one of the groups I'm on Facebook, and he started spouting about, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. He didn't use those exact words, but that's what he was talking about. And, how wealth is not created and transferred. And I essentially owned the guy, and I sent him packing with his tail between his legs because I hate communists. I hate them. They've killed so many people, and they don't seem to realize it. At one point, the kid is like, hey, stop being so serious, man. It's not that serious, bro. Called me bro. Get the fuck out of here. Do I look black to you? That's how black people talk, pal. Aren't you appropriating their culture when you talk like that? Number one. Number two, I'm not your bro. Number three, you're a fucking communist. And you expect me to be uber tolerant of your bullshit? I mean, I'll tolerate you to a certain degree, but then the kids started getting really stupid. And I granted, maybe I should have been a little nicer to the kid, but it just chaps my ass. I hate communists. I really can't stand them. And, this kid, oh, God, never ceases to amaze me how stupid people can be. But, yeah, there's consequences to these ideas. All people like this Yang are focusing on is, the outcome he wants and expects to happen. Oh, yeah, I'm going to take 10%. Value-added tax. It's only 10%. America's rich. And that'll raise 800 billion, excuse me. Yeah. Hey, Yang, that's if everybody acts the way you want them to act and they don't cut back on their spending. But we know when it comes to taxes, they absolutely affect how people act in regards to how the tax is applied. With income tax, what happens? What happens? Or capital gains taxes or whatever. You start taxing these big companies more. What do? They move their headquarters to Kuala Lumpur or someplace that has friendlier tax laws. Now you're getting zero. Just like Ocasio dummy Cortez, they call AOC now. We won! We stopped the fucking local government for giving them $3 billion in tax breaks, and I'm so dumb, I actually thought that it entailed us giving them $3 billion. No, dummy. You're just giving them a tax break of $3 billion over a fucking, 10 or 20-year period or something? It was 10 years or something, 20 years. And during that time, they would have paid $30 billion, but instead they were only paying $27 billion. So congratulations. Yeah, they didn't get what they wanted. That evil capitalist pig. We didn't give him a tax break. Yeah, you gave yourself a tax break in the form of getting more tax revenue, you idiot. You cost the state of New York $27 billion, you dummy. Was she so dumb? So dumb. I mean, but of course she's just a puppet, right? Doing what her, leftist handlers, Chaikart Sakobardi, and those other idiots told her to do. She doesn't really know what to do. That's why she sounds like such a moron whenever she goes off script. But anyway, yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Sith. I mean, when you introduce these taxes, you change people's behavior. If you introduce a sales tax, people will stop spending as much money. You're not suddenly, it's like, okay, I'm going to give these. And what's also funny is that if you're giving this to every American, they're going to pay tax on that as well. It's not like this money you're giving them is, off limits. It's like when you go to the counter and you're going to buy some Skittles. Oh, you can't value add tax this because, it's my $1,000, my UBI. So you can't tax that. No. Or you have a card, and you use that card, and that money didn't get taxed. Every dollar you spend will get taxed, including that UBI. So So stupid. So you're taking money you're stealing from people to give it to people, and then you're taxing that to just give it right back to them. It's the most asinine thing. The most asinine idea. And you're literally taking this money to produce nothing. Nothing's being produced. You're taking it from people who are producing something and giving it to people who don't produce very much, and you're giving it to them and getting nothing in exchange. And you're actually motivating them to produce less or nothing. Like I said at the start, you've got millions of people willing to sleep on fucking sidewalks because it's warm weather and they don't have to worry about freezing to death come winter, and somebody's willing to feed them. What do you think's going to happen when you give people an actual salary? Well, they're going to sit on their ass, a lot of these people. And that's going to generate less tax revenue. Then those people are going to just live off of that $1,000 a month, and they're going to pay back into the system by having taxed that $1,000 and not some salary they're making, because they're no longer making a salary because they worked at fucking Burger King and they no longer want to have to put up with their boss, so they'll just go apply for fucking SNAP benefits and whatever the fucking welfare programs they can get. And if it's California, it's quite a few. And in addition to that $1,000, they're making even more money than they did at fucking Burger King. And paying that 10% value-added tax that's covering the costs of this great program with money that didn't produce anything. So you're just sucking even more out of the system. What a dummy this guy is. What a moron. He's a millionaire. Doing what? What a fucking idiot. No wonder he wants to get into politics. He probably lost all his money on some harebrained scheme because he's probably not a very good businessman. He's probably just some corrupt idiot, right, who had the right contacts or something. It's low IQ stuff. How is this guy? I mean, I know there's smart people out there that believe a lot of stupid stuff, but Jesus Christ. I'm going to blow a fucking artery in my fucking head if I keep talking about this. It makes me so angry. Makes me so angry. Excuse me. And for those of you who follow my content, you know I talk a fair amount about economics, just the simple elementary economic lessons that these people avoid. And just like this kid I was talking about that I had a back and forth with on Facebook for some time, he was trying to talk about how he was so learned. And when I tried to essentially educate him, and I gave him some very simple elementary lessons about economics and why his ideas don't work, he comes back at me with a laugh out, wow, I learned that in Economics 101. Yeah, you learned that in Economics 101. You learned that in Econ 101. Then what the fuck are you spouting this bullshit for? If you're so learned and you've already learned these lessons, what the fuck are you talking about wealth being distributed and not created? Distributed by who? What distribution are you talking about, pinhead? Oh my God. How do you explain the greater amount of wealth in the world now as compared to 1880? What do you think? We just printed ever more money, which, by the way, we are, but that doesn't account for the actual wealth that it represents having increased. How could the wealth have increased if wealth isn't created, you moron? And somebody else made a very good point. How in the hell, the point I would have made if they didn't, how in the hell is there wealth to tax if the wealth wasn't first created? I mean, this obvious, this is lower. You learned this in fucking high school economics, okay? But he didn't get it. He didn't get it because he's been ideologically programmed, polarized to, just spout this nonsense. So logic, reason, critical thinking, don't enter into it. But yeah. All right. Maybe I better move on here because you guys are probably getting tired of hearing about this. Oh, university or trade school. Yeah, I was talking about that before Sith called in. One second. Whew, okay. So, uni or trade school. So, people who study trades can make really good money. I know that, like, guys that work in the electrical field, you know those guys that you see the helicopter, and they work on those high-power lines that are way, way high off the ground, the ones that people talk about giving cancer if you live near them because they create a very large electromagnetic field, and supposedly on a cellular level, intense electromagnetic fields can damage one's cells and lead to cancer. I'm not so sure about that, but Well, they have helicopters for working on those lines. And, you strap yourself to the rail of the helicopter and you work on the line. And those guys make six figures. Those guys make in the mid to high six figures. There's a good job right there. If you do it well, it's not, there is danger involved. You're high up. You've got 500,000 watts, volts, whatever flowing through that fucking line. But yeah, there's a trade right there that makes really good money. Electricians, something closer to the ground. They can make good money. 60, 80, 100 plus grand a year, depending on whether or not you're working for someone else or you're a subcontractor, you have your own company. There's always demand for these types of businesses. There's always demand. And there's a shortage because everybody and their mother is going to university because, oh, yeah, everything's environmental. Yeah, there's no genetics behind it. I can go to university. I'll be Einstein. Really? Yeah, okay. All right, Pinhead. Yeah, you can be just as smart as Einstein, right? Yeah, no. Yeah, that's an equity bullshit, right? Equal outcome nonsense. No. University is not for everybody, okay? You should probably have 130 plus IQ to go to university. But of course, that was when people studied useful things, right? Now you got idiots like AOC that have an 85, 90 IQ. Going to university to study economics, and she knows nothing about economics. Oh, my God. I think there's very little unemployment in America because everybody has 2 jobs. What does that have to do with it? Wow. So, yeah. Don't go to university unless you're going to actually do a job that requires you to go to university. There's no cachet in going to university anymore, right? It used to be that back in the 60s and shit, where only 10% of the population went to university. If you went to university, you had to be really smart. You had a very high IQ, or at least a relatively high IQ, and it meant something. Nowadays, what is it, 80, 90% of people are going to university? Harvard is lowering their fucking standards, letting in David Hogue. Have you heard that kid talk? He's like Hitler, man. You needed a little a pencil mustache, and that was it. He's like, guns aboard! He's fucking doing the old Heil Hitler salute almost. That's one dumb kid. Yeah, he thinks guns kill people. He don't think people kill people, right? Yeah. And he plans to be a politician, by the way, and he's going to study political sciences. Oh, man. Yeah, another useless subject. Yeah. So my advice to the person who sent that message, go into trade. Go into a trade, study the trades. Find out what trades are making the most money. And also, by the way, a question like this shows a severe lack of self-awareness and self-knowledge. I'm thinking that this guy was or is living with a single mother, has been raised by a single mother, didn't have a father to teach him what it means to be a man, and thereby learn who he is. So this type of question just smacks of single mommy. You need to learn more about yourself, son. You need to sit down and ask yourself fundamental questions like, who am I? What do I enjoy doing? What are my talents? What makes me tick? Could I do this for 8, 10, 12 hours a day? Would it fulfill me? Is it something that I have a talent for? Is it something that I would be good at? You need to ask yourself these questions. But of course, to answer them, you need to know yourself. So I really recommend that you sit down and really, really think deeply and make a list of the things you enjoy, the things you know you're good at, the things you think you're good at, and then look at the types of professions that exist in the trades and if there is any crossover between those things and the things you're good at and the things you enjoy. And ideally, you would find a profession in the trades that you not only are good at but enjoy and could do every day and you'd be fulfilled doing it. That's ideal. But of course, most people don't get that. Most people don't even get to do something they're good at. Most people just have to knuckle down and grind away for 8 hours a day doing something they hate. That's reality. If you're lucky enough, meaning if you planned well and studied something from early on that you were good at and enjoyed, then you might actually have a profession later on that you're good at, you enjoy, and that fulfills you. See, the main problem that people have these days, okay, isn't that there's some huge shortage of professions out there that could fulfill them and give them meaning in their lives and that they would enjoy and actually make decent money. The main problem is people making bad fucking choices early on because they don't have guidance. They don't have guidance from somebody early on. Add to that the fact they go to school for 12 years and come out with no skills. Well, that could have something to do with it. But yeah, that's a lot of the problem, okay? Not that there's not something out there for you, but people, by and large, are making bad choices early on. And this has been talked about a lot, and studies have been done, and it's been found that, you know, all you really need to do to not be some poor loser is, you know, don't have kids out of wedlock. Don't get married or have kids or anything before you get a high school diploma. Get your high school diploma. I mean, there's simple things that if you don't do them, and if you just focus on learning something of use, essentially getting an education and becoming good at something, you're not going to be some poor, pathetic loser, okay? So you don't have to grind away for 8 hours a day doing something that you hate, that you don't enjoy, and that pays crappy. It's not a requirement to be an American. You're a young guy. You have plenty of time to learn something of value. And my advice to you and most people out there is don't go to university. I know this sounds radical, but that's the nature of most universities today. They're full of radical leftists who aren't going to teach you anything of value anyway. You're just going to learn to spout their talking points and be what I call a dogmatic fucking parrot. Just spouting leftist ideology, propaganda, and then you're going to go out into the world and try to be an activist, right? And then you're going to answer some fucking Craigslist ad posted by some organization that's funded by George Soros to work for $15 an hour to be an activist on the street and crack people over the head with fucking bike locks, okay? Yeah, that's a real fucking noble profession there. Yeah, paid activist. Don't go down that road. Avoid university. Learn skills that are useful. Go to a trade school, and you'll actually make decent bank. You'll have a job that is productive, that contributes to the economy, doing something that you can be proud of, and you'll learn real practical skills that can only get better as you age, and that will carry you into old age and guarantee you a nice soft bed to land on, provided with your own two hands and your own savings, as opposed to some welfare loser who wants to get $1,000 of money a month. Free money, which ain't free, and is stolen from people like you. Well, if you follow my advice, anyway. All right, so is there anybody out there that would like to comment on anything I've had to say? If so, please feel free to call in. The number is 623-242-2517. That's 623-242-2517, or Skype me at therealistphilosopher.com. And also, if you like my honesty, if you appreciate the red pills that I'm giving people, meaning the lessons about reality and how the real world works, and you'd like to help me be able to reach more people, please consider donating. And to do that, visit my website, therealistphilosopher.com/donate. That's therealistphilosopher.com/donate. You can choose your method of donation. It's up to you entirely. There's a lot of things I want to do that I can't do because I just can't afford it. So if you guys would donate, I would really appreciate it. A lot of the things I want to do are not cheap, but would help a lot of men. And the more of you who donate, the more I can do. Also, follow me on social media. I'm a ubiquitous poster of content on YouTube and other platforms. You'll see all my social media accounts at the bottom of the page. I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Gab, and Instagram. Please follow me on those platforms for regular updates in regards to when I post content. And I try to post content daily. I don't always succeed outside of this show, of course, which is a Monday to Friday endeavor. And if you'd like to talk about something more serious, as I recommended that this kid who asked the question about trade school versus college wanted to talk about something more serious, please email me at admin@therealistphilosopher.com. That's admin@therealistphilosopher.com. Or therealistphilosopher@realistphilosopher.com. But admin is a lot easier to type. admin@therealistphilosopher.com. This show airs Monday to Friday, 9 to 10 a.m., New York City time. Sometimes it'll run a little longer, depending on if I'm still talking to someone. or talking about something around that time, then sometimes it'll run over. But generally, it ends at 10. So there's nobody out there that would like to call in and address something that I haven't addressed. Sith, if you feel I missed something, you can feel free to call back in. I think I was pretty thorough in my dismantling of Mr. Yang's retarded value-added tax bullshit, which even ideally, if nobody's behavior changed when he added this tax and he still got that, and he got that $800 million that he wanted, he'd still be at $800 billion. He'd still be $1 trillion short. How you going to raise that, Mr. Yang? Oh, you're just going to, I don't know, print more money? Yeah, obviously. Go more into debt, right? Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, let's just go into more debt, right, Mr. Yang? Just so long as you get elected president, right? Yeah, this, stupid. I don't know how people fall for this. I mean, all you're going to do is if you give people this amount of money, no strings attached, you're just going to encourage those who have the worst jobs, that pay the least, to go on the welfare dole because they'll probably make more. And why would you stick around to put up with someone's crap just for a few extra $100 a month? I mean, sure, yeah, you might make more, even if you're at the lowest rung in terms of pay in America. Even if you're at the lowest rung, you still might make a little more than if you got this UBI and welfare. But so what? If you have to put up with a crap load of stuff every day, I'm going to work 8 hours a day, I'm going to work my ass off. Even if I made double this, I think I could survive on this. And with welfare, I could almost make up the difference. And why wouldn't I do that when the alternative is working my ass off 8 hours a day, flipping burgers, or, you know, waiting on people at Walmart and dealing with a boss and all that? Why would I do that? I mean, it's not like I'm getting zero. I could live and continue to pay my rent and exist. Yeah, I couldn't spend as much as I used to. I wouldn't have as much, you know, actual mad money, as it were. But just so long as I can survive, again, look at the lesson of all the homeless in California and that exist all over the country and indeed the world. A lot of these people, they live in pretty abject conditions. Their standards are horrible. You wouldn't want to live in those type of circumstances, right? But they're willing to. Now, just imagine how many more people are willing to actually just give up a little bit of their quality of life to get, you know, what they would call freedom. What they would call freedom, right? Essentially, Marx is, utopia, where half the population slaves away while the other half of the population, which were all special genius artists, can just have a life of leisure. Yeah. Meaning he was talking about himself, of course, because Marx thought he was a special genius artist. And from what I understand, is actually some of his poetry was halfway decent. Like anybody gives a fuck about that nowadays. Yeah, you can't eat that. But what did he fucking do? The guy chose to follow a life of criticism of capitalism and essentially trying to destroy a system that he thought treated him very unfairly because he saw himself as such a wonderful, brilliant guy, and the system as it's set up now just didn't recognize his genius, and that's so unfair. Yeah, right. Bitter, angry asshole. All right. Anyhow, I think I'm going to end on that note. Doesn't look like anybody's going to call in. I guess I addressed everything that Sith wanted me to address. And I'll be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. In the meantime, go check out the Headbanging Dog on my channel. And again, if you can afford to donate, please do. And I guess that's it. Hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. I am the Realist Philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.